Cloudku ke... Udah ya? Udah kan ya? Udah recording ya? Layar saya terlihat nggak, Mas Baru? Mas Baru?
Lihat Ibu.
Terlihat ya? Oh, suaranya masuk sana. Ya nggak apa lah ya. Oke. Nih, terus ini ya. Oke, mungkin sambil saya duduk aja ya. Kan nggak ada, belum ada mic ya. Atau mau situ ngapain? Dasar. Oke, atau kamu mau menggantikan saya? Makin kosong ya kelasnya ya. Okay, probably we can start. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. How are you guys? It's getting emptier every week ya. Kenapa nih kira-kira? Do you know anyone have certain reason why they're not here? Ataukah ada yang lagi sakit atau ada lagi kuliah lapangan lagi atau apa? Enggak ya? Enggak ya? Enggak ada. Hmm? Kenapa? Evan bisa yang tahu. Masalahnya.
20 to 30 people sih biasa.
Apa?
20 to 30 people.
Loh, emang biasanya bukannya penuh?
Ya, mejanya nambah.
Oh, mejanya nambah ya? Oh, kursinya nambah. Oke, fine. Ya, oke. I hope baru yang di Zoom bisa dengar ya, karena mic saya ternyata bermasalah. And also my feet. Jadi kaki saya, I just got surgery on my knees, so I cannot move around too much. So probably I will do the lecture mostly by sitting. Yeah, I hope you're okay with that. Although I don't really enjoy talking while sitting. Yeah, usually I go around. But yeah, this is the condition. So I want to update that you've made group, yeah. And have you visited the building on ITB? Yeah, together as a group. Yeah, have you discussed about it? Yeah. Okay. So today I will add something on the probably the tools for your analysis. Yeah. This is part. This is actually the lecture part of what we used to have. We have architectural appreciation subject used to, yeah, but because of the changing of the curricula, it got erased from the list. But then I think this is one important subject and something that probably you need to know. And this will equip you with more vocabularies on how to analyze buildings that you're doing in the group. So I hope this will sharpen the discussion. And please include this to probably the discussion that you will present next week. Yeah, so next week we will have presentation. Yeah. Okay. Um, uh, Probably before we start, is there anything interesting in particular about the building that you visited? Anyone can share probably what building you're doing that you're looking at? Ada yang menarik nggak? Masa nggak ada? Atau nggak mau ngomong? Come on, anyone? Please. Kak pilih Kak Siapa Kak Siapa? Angie? Ah, boleh. Information Centernya CC. Oke. Hmm. Hmm. Oh, beda banget. Oke. Um, is there anything that you guys don't like in particular? As probably a critic to the building itself? Atau belum sampai situ? Mm-mm. AC-nya banyak banget. Di gedung eh, yang KC itu, Information Center itu. Oke. Saya bahkan belum pernah masuk loh sejak direnov. Lihat aja dari luar kan ya. Um, Oke, oke. Thank you Mbak Inji ya. Mungkin satu lagi, Mas Evan. Korbankan satu Mas Evan. Siapa? Siapa? Oh iya ada. Good. Mbak siapa? Mbak Modi. Hmm. Saya itu dua gedung itu lab biru tablet biru sama gedung CAD. Labtek biru tuh kimia. Eh Labtek biru yang sana kan? Teknik kimia kan? Ah, oke. Terus? Sebenarnya ini eh, pernah kan dibagi pembahasannya dibagi di substansi. Jadi ada yang membahasnya spesifik di label, ada yang membahasnya di CAD. Saya termasuk yang di CAD. Terus kemarin tuh untuk membantu analisis kasus saya juga wawancara sama anak masa dia kan. Terus yang saya find menarik itu apa namanya pokoknya di bagian atas itu mereka tuh ada graf itu kan dan mereka tuh ada mereka tuh ada uh, elevator itu kalau misalnya hujan itu suka merembes terus sampai banyak dari situ. Itu kayak di auditorium itu. Oh, okay. Okay, okay, that's interesting, yeah, because the building itself relatively new, so leaking problem would be something that you can discuss gitu. So what's the problem? Is it the design that needs to be apa ya scrutinized atau the quality of the construction atau plumbing itu sendiri atau memang saat itu heavily rain yang ya, apa ya beyond normal gitu sehingga capacity of the plumbing atau the ini itu nggak bisa menampung gitu. Oke, but yeah that's interesting point ya. Okay, now we will discuss about architectural appreciation, vocabulary, and concept. So probably this will be something that probably you're familiar with already, but then probably it's just a reminder that there's a certain aspect in building that you can look at it there. And the problem with discussing architectural appreciation, this is subjective. This is actually sense-based. So we just for instance, I see that I see lines, for instance, in one building, but you need to kind of sense it. Can you see the line? Can you or can you see something else? Probably someone else see it differently gitu ya. So I want you to engage with this lecture. I hope this will not be too. Saya I hope I want to make it short yeah because hopefully just an hour because it's actually not really a difficult topic. It's just a reminder and to give you a sense of this is course is the visual elements. Yeah, we will discuss about point, line, shape, mass, and light. This is the visual elements that appears in the visual of the building. Um, one connected to the other, but then some kind of highlight. For instance, if you use spotlight, yeah, with light like this, if you use spotlight, it it seems like you're creating points in different places, signed by different lights. So that is actually points. Oh, that but sometimes you don't see it like when you don't see it they don't see it but when you see it then oh yeah it's actually a new space created by light. Okay, we will discuss it. Point. A point or mark is the smallest and most basic visual elements. This can vary in size, value, regularity, or irregularity, and can be used alone or as a unit in a group that forms a line or shape in the image. Point can be used to form a value or pattern. Yeah, placed close together from a darker value, further apart from a light value, or to delineate space. Larger means closer. So if you see the picture, can you see points there? Okay, tell me what kind of points that you see. Which point? Come on.
Dots on the walls and floors.
The dots, that's okay. The dots. That is point. And then they kind of like
Form a shape of a square.
yeah, it is has a boundary, yeah. A square. What else? What points?
The table as well.
On the table, okay. Yes. What else? Do you see the sharp point of that? Yeah, that's actually creating point, right? But without being clear as that is a point. But the shape of pointing, the sharp end, and it create like a repetition. Itu creating points. Yeah. Jadi point yang point that is formed by the dot and point that is formed by the sharp end itu berbeda rasanya. Yeah. Different sense given to it. Um, and in the square on yang ada dotsnya itu, they also create patterns of the triangle, yeah, using different color. Yeah, so and you see apa ya istilahnya it give patterns, yeah, using dots. So basically you can use dots or point itu to be a bigger pattern. This is also point, yeah. Jadi you create point, small point, and then you arrange it in a circular way to create a bigger scale of the round shape itself. Bisa aja kan nggak perlu ada poinnya, tapi ini membuat orang itu melihat details, ya. So it means that if you create something like this, it means that you try to ask people to see the details. Berbeda kalau it will give different sense if you just create like a smooth pattern of the circle. It means that you are not trying to highlight it. But then if you create something like that, the more element you put, then it will draw more attention. It means that it elevates the sense of importance of the element to the building. Yeah. Even though there is only one point or mark on a white blank page, it can catch our sight. Yeah. Now, if there are 2 points, we will make connection and see a line, right? The thing that we've discussed before. Yeah. If there are 2 points, we tend to create a line to connect the two. If there are 3 points, it is unavoidable to interpret them as triangle. Kalau misalnya dia seperti ini, 3 points. Yeah. The mind supplies the connection. These are called grouping or gestalt. Gestalt is the fundamental tool the designer or artist uses to build a coherent composition. So if you see the dot on the right picture, if you see just like one dot or one element, it doesn't say anything. But then if you zoom out, it create as if, how many lines does it make? How many lines can you see? First, you see the connection of the circular. But then you see also the connection of the line that going from the inside outward, right? To the outside. Yeah. So that is as if there are like a crossing pattern, crossing lines that create complexities that draw attention to whatever there on the top. Okay, line. Yeah. After point, we talk about lines. Of course, line is we know lines, yeah. And it appears in so many things in architectural elements, yeah. A line is a form with width and length but no depth. Artists use line to create edge, the outline of an object. A line is created by the movement of the artist's pen. The direction of a line can convey mood. The horizontal lines are calm and quiet. Vertical lines suggest more potential of movement, while diagonal lines strongly suggest movement and give more of a feeling of vitality to a picture. Lines, when you order it in a certain way, it will create movement. Yeah. If you see the stairs, do you see lines? Yeah. Which part of the stair that create lines? The edge. Okay. There are two edges. One is the sharp edge there, and also the one that is the connection of this, right? So you see lines. You use lines usually to because you know that the eyes create things perspectively like this, yeah. Creating lines like that will give you sense of what? Direction, yeah, movement, move there, like kind of like giving you um arrow to go there. Please climb me, something like that. And um and you can see for instance the difference between kenapa nggak ada yang apa sih nih? If you create lines like this, compared to something like this, compared to something like this one, will tend to be steady repetition, right? Sometimes if you have like a big um, wall or probably a big facade, just say that you are designing 30-floor building and then you use this only, it means repetition that is steady and sometimes it looks a bit boring. Yeah. That's why you need to make a bit variation using rhythm, rhythmic, yeah. And you can mix, for example, this is like the first floor. You use like a vertical shading. You place it with different kind of, it's like music, right? Apa sih ketukan itu? The the one that it's like the and then yeah, beats, different beats. You are the job of architect is combining the pattern into something that is more interesting. So do you think which one do you think is more interesting? The one that is steady or the one that is dynamic? Hmm? Dynamic or steady? Well, this is again probably depends on what function or what building you're designing.
But if you're designing something like mall, shopping mall, or probably something to interact to interest people to come, then probably use something that is more dynamic. It means if you are designing facade, you try to make different bits. Yeah. But then later probably we can discuss um apa ya? There is a pattern needed. Jadi nggak bisa juga you can di sini apa gitu ya. Karena kalau tune-nya terlalu beat-nya terlalu variatif, there are so many beats in one go, you cannot enjoy it. So you have to make sure that the beats align to each other and also in a compound sense that people can grasp. Oh, this is the part of, for instance, um, this is a facade of a tall building, yeah. And then you want to use different lines, for instance, and then you can probably split it first into some uh kind of parts. Oh, this is the lobby, so I need to emphasize this one, for instance. So you can make it like a using apa ya istilahnya kayu-kayu itu loh, wood panel, something like that. That is a bit intense. But then here you have windows, for instance, and then you give or probably I want to open this one, and then you can create. So this compound and this compound and this compound is probably different, but you can still see that this connected to each other. Do you know what I'm saying? What I'm saying? I mean, it's not like you are creating. Don't try to put so many things in one facade. If you use line, then stick with lines. But then you play with lines in a compound way, something like that, so that it can still be grouped or still can be enjoyed without being shattered gitu loh maksud saya. Okay, lines also ada yang actual and also implied ya. Kalau actual line, of course, something that you can see, contour line ya, lines formed by edges atau linear form. If you see here, you can see so many lines, yeah. They are play with lines. The horizontal one you see? What lines do you see? Dari apanya? From which element? Hmm? What line do you see? Do you see lines? Huh? Yeah? Why don't you answer me? What line do you see?
The frames,
The frame, which frame?
analysis, the kisi-kisi.
Uh-huh. The vertical one?
Yeah,
Yeah, okay. We can see vertical lines, yeah. As a why it's there? What's the function of it?
I think supposed to create some sort of transitional space from the circulative space where people walk
Mm-hmm.
through and through, and then a more quiet place where people just sit and read quietly.
Okay, so the vertical lines act as a border, yeah, from the pathway to the sitting area. Okay, what else? What line? What else that you see? The lines here. Hmm?
See diagonal lines of the rail.
Diagonal lines. Okay. Okay. So there are few diagonal lines, yeah. The one that goes down and also the go up there, um, of the stairs, yeah. Okay, what else? What else? It's quite complicated lines, but it's kind of nice, yeah. And if you see the stairs itself on the left side here, it's also create lines, right? But then you see there's also similar parallel lines that become the bookshelf, yeah. But then underneath the shelf itself, ada yang vertical to create like a support to the shelf itself. Yeah, it means that um we can see that actually the most obvious or the most repeated lines are the horizontal one. But then it create the diagonal one create kind of accent, right? That kind of split the horizontal line into two part, the small one and the big one. Yeah. And also if you see also the dots there, the edge of the oh kan saya bisa pakai ini ya. This one, yeah, this is point, but then because it is repeated, it kind of like goes there, like it create another diagonal line. Yeah. Okay. The implied line, ya. Kalau yang tadi, this is the actual line, ya. Kalau yang implied line, broken or dotted line, for example, row of people waiting in line, or row of plant, ya. Line of sight, line created for the viewer to follow when a person or animal in work of art look or point in particular direction. This one, the one that I mentioned, this one is also is actual or implied line. Is it actual line or implied line? Implied line. Because there are actually no lines here, right? But this one, is it actual one or implied line? This is actual, yeah? So you know the difference, yeah? Now, you as an architect can combine the two. Yeah, you can, if you stick with lines, then you can combine the implied and also the actual one. Okay, shape. Shape or 2D, we are talking about two-dimensional. Shape or two-dimensional form that occupies an area with identifiable boundaries. Shapes fall into two general category, organic and geometric, and also can be actual and implied. Yeah. When looking at piece of art, a figure is the shape we touch and focus on, and the ground is the surrounding area. The figure called positive shape and the ground called negative shape. Okay, so from here we know that there are two, yeah, potential form that we make or shape. It is organic and geometric. So can you give me example of organic shape? Apa contohnya organic shape?
So,
Shell. Okay, what else? What else? Hmm? Nggak ada lagi? If you see around you, can you see any organic shape? Leaves? What else? Ya, apalagi bark of the trees, ya. Nah, itu bisa menjadi inspirasi juga gitu ya. Inspire you to create patterns or probably like apa ya istilahnya decoration or whatever in the architecture. Kalau geometric, contohnya, of course ya, apa? Where ya, this table is geometric ya, the door itu geometric. And maybe actual and implied ya, tadi yang sudah kita bahas ya. Kayak itu bolong-bolong hitam itu, the black dotted one, ya, itu created as a dot, but then it looks like line, but somehow when lines become together, it creates a shape. Yeah, so it combines the three elements, the dot, the line, and also the shape. And also, have you ever heard about figure ground analysis? Yes? Yeah. Figure chronology. Ada yang udah pernah di sini? So that is a common analysis method, usually in the city level, yeah, or probably bigger level, urban level. And when you kind of make usually use white and black, and then the black one, every house you give the black one, yeah, and then you leave the road white gitu. Jadi kelihatan tiba-tiba. Jadi nanti bisa terlihat, you can imagine the black one is something that is going up from the road, and then the white one itu adalah yang jalan gitu ya. Nah, jadi yang tinggi ini, yang tinggi itu, the black one is the positive shape. Ya, the round one is the negative shape. Okay, mass, ya, massing. Yang tadi shape is two-dimensional, this is three-dimensional, ya. Mass is a three-dimensional form that occupies a volume or space that actually exists. Actual mass exists in architecture and sculpture. A two-dimensional work may have implied mass created by an implied light sources, which bring us to our next element. If you see this picture, yeah, how many mass do you see? Two, yeah. And can you give me a sense of why the architect placed it like that instead of stacking it together? It kind of like twisted and create long span, apa namanya, cantilever. What is it that the architect tried to achieve? Will you put it like this? And when will you put it like this? In uh what justification or what reasoning? Mhm.
Right? Because we want us to react, to be shocked when we see that, because when we see a message that is built by us like this, we might think that the upper messaging might not be as sturdy. And we might think to ourselves that what will happen if we go inside that building and suddenly it's collapsed. So I think the architect wants to trick us and to make us think that this building is unstable, but somehow he could make it work by building it in such fashion.
Yeah, good, good. So that instead of stacking it together, yeah, in the one direction, twisting it create a sense of imbalance, sense of, want to like, apa istilahnya, mau mengguling gitu ya, movement. This is one of the way to create a sense of movement tadi, the dynamic. Because have you seen American Next Top Model kind of thing? The modeling reality show. If you see the most of the challenge, usually they are asked to pose for a frame of picture, but then with a sense of movement. It's difficult because actually the picture is so steady. It's just like that, right? It stops like, but then how the way they do it, for instance, if I do this, if I do it like this, and if I do this, which one sends more movement? The second one. If I do this, which one compared to this one? This one and this one. What if I add something like this, right? So, and then although the picture stop when I do this, although the picture is just like nggak bergerak kan, unmoved. But then you can sense that I am about to move forward. That kind of sense that is you can play with in architecture. Same with this. There is a sense of it kind of fall down. You're creating a sense of falling down, It's also meaning that you're creating dynamic or trying to create movement with your um, building, and that usually attract people to come, and probably usually ya yang kayak gitu tuh seringkali attracting people, malah dia pengennya ke situnya kan, pengen cobain ada di cantilever itu. Okay. Okay. So, movement also, sorry, kita, when analyzing two-dimensional work of art, implied mass and light are often described together, ya. Jadi, light itu adalah unseparable from architecture. In the real world, light reveals the world around us and help us understand form and spatial relationship. Light and shadow model an object. It gives a three-dimensional appearance. The range of light and dark are reversed as value. If you see the patterns, yeah, the pattern itself, um, it create like a pattern on the floor, but it's actually not there, right? That's why architects have to be very careful in looking at what angle the actually the direction of the sun usually ya. Itu ada. Did have I mentioned about Adi Purnomo Studio Cahaya? No, yeah, probably you can Google it. Studio Cahaya by Adi Purnomo. That is interesting because he really analyzed the pathway of sun movement when he designed that. So I think, if I'm not mistaken, that is a studio slash house of an artist. And he wants, Adi Purnomo wants every wall become a canvas of the picture created by lights. Have you seen it? Yeah. So he analyzed, and that's why if you see the apa ya, the walls itu nggak ada yang lurus. Walls itu semuanya tilted. Kenapa? Because dia tilted karena dia akan naruh objek di atasnya dan itu akan menjadi area where the shadow falls. It means that the architect plays with light and shadow. Yeah. Okay. And have you checked the church by apa? Van Tadao Ando itu kan? Church of Light. Yeah, that is a beautiful creating the cross without being adding something gitu. Usually like in the church we add something like a new element, additional element of the cross, but then it is built within the architecture itself. And that become apa ya, spectacular only on few hours, probably when the sun directly hits the cross gitu. Jadi memang it won't be similar, the sense will not be similar the whole day, but then there will be moment when the intention of the architect captured. That is when the sun goes as expected by the architect itu untuk ininya lightnya ya. Okay, so we move to color, texture, space, and time. Yeah. You see colors ya. Colors ini juga connected to lights because without colors ya there is no without lights there is no colors ya. And in architecture usually we try to tone down the color ya. Jadi kalau if we have kind of building and then we try to make an accent color, yeah, we stick with the same accent color usually. Jadi it's not like dulu kalau in the past probably painters sukanya yang kayak color blocking apa ya namanya? Yang merah biru kuning itu, like a green apa, yellow, red, blue itu. Jadi ada yang ketika there was a movement back then in the history where using more color meaning more festive ya. sekarang I think today's trend is not really like that. If you see this building on the top apa top mass itu, ya, they use bare um color ya. Even many Indonesian architect like siapa Andra Matin ya, probably you're so familiar with him. He said that uh not only the color, even the material, only two materials max. And the art of the architect's job is how to make only two materials, but it can be as dynamic as possible. Jadi today's architect try to trim down, try to kind of less is more kind of thing, yeah. But then how to use color as and in different cases itu menjadi sesuatu yang challenging juga gitu. In this case, the color of the wood becomes striking because nggak ada color lagi di situ yang lain. If you paint the wall, ya, probably itu juga nanti akan mungkin akan mengurangi apa ya strikingnya dari wooden colornya itu. Color itself, we have so many ini ya, ada wheelsnya ya. Ada yang primary colors, red, blue, yellow, secondary colors, ya. Orange, green, violet, tertiary colors, even more mixture ya. And ada juga yang propertiesnya here, the name of color according to the category of the color wheel, value ya, the relative lightness and darkness of the color, intensity itu the relativity or relative purity of the color. Jadi ada chroma atau saturation ya. Probably you're familiar with this ya. Kalau editing foto, it's quite clear. Ada juga yang color sih monochromatic ya. Uh, Tentunya we know that monochromatic use less color ya. And then it plays with tint and shades and intensity of the level. And then complementary, ada yang analogous and triadic, but this is not something that we need to delve. But then what I want to emphasize with colors is that you need to be careful with using colors because this how many kind of wood color that you know there are so many color of the wood, right? Apa aja yang kalian tahu? Mungkin ada walnut ya, that is a bit dark, ada yang a bit light gitu. Nah, when you use yeah, you need to pay attention on the color of the wood itself because not only like okay, I want to make like I want to change my floor into parquet or wood floor. Wrong color can create different ambience ya. Karena ada yang a bit red, something like this is a bit red, this uh wooden color ya. Ada juga yang suka mungkin agak ke putih light gitu. Kalau my preferences is more like a darker one, so I use walnut wood color di rumah gitu at my home ya. Okay, texture can be actual and also visual ya. Um, and do you like this building using all texture or what do you think? What do you think? In today's work, we don't really see that much anymore. Same texture for the whole building, like what we saw probably in the castle, ya. Castle tuh pakai apa? Batu ya, stone, all over the surface. But now we tend to kind of like mix it. Usually we use texture for on the accent, yeah, the one that we want to put emphasis. Even in the interior, now we have like a texture wall ya, for the accent wall. Have you seen any? Nah, coba lihat nggak? Ada lembaran yang emang udah ada bentuknya. Jadi it's like a one like a thin slide, apa ya, kayak apa sih istilahnya, lapisan gitu loh. And then you can just like stick it to the wall, dan itu creating texture. Jadi we can make it outside and also inside ya. Space ya, this is a three dimensional space. Um, okay, yeah, space is something that is also you need to pay attention ya. And space is not only form, we've discussed ya. Space is area that is actually have a border of wall, top, and lots of floor. Tapi sometimes without, it's not, nggak harus semuanya gitu loh. It doesn't have to be like the complete wall, ceiling, and also floor ya. Sometimes just a simple trees giving a sense of space for you who is underneath that tree gitu ya. Oke, ada yang linear, space linear perspektif, ada yang, oh, ini nggak perlu lah ya. Ini tentang perspektif. Time and motion. Jadi, you need to pay attention on how people move in the space ya. Sesuatu yang seperti ini tuh creating a sense of movement ya, spiraling seperti itu. And it called kinetic sculpture ya. So when you nanti discuss about your building that you discuss with your friends ya, just kind of pay attention on how that building lead you to move. Is there any specific alleyway or anything that is probably kind of invite you to go inside or not? Especially buildings in ITB yang laptek kembar itu ya. You know, the twin laptek itu. Itu tuh karena semuanya sama, because the whole facade is quite similar. It's quite difficult to find offices there. So, for instance, I wanted to go to kantornya FTI misalnya. I have to ask people like, di mana ya kantornya FTI? Where is the office of that faculty? Because there is no visible sign that can lead me to, oh, this is the office or this is the entrance, something like that. So that is something that probably you can also discuss in relation to time and motion. And also visual organization principle, probably this is, I believe we've discussed it before, yeah, in the previous studio, but I just want you to retouch on this and probably discuss on the work, yeah. First is unity. Unity means the state of being one or the state of or in harmony. Yeah. If you see the picture, we discussed that although the building consists of so many elements, yeah, we have walls, we have column, wall, apa ceiling, apa ya, atapnya ya, the roof in different shapes, but then because it goes together, it create unity. Yeah. Okay. And balance. Balance has a psychological sense of equilibrium ya. Ada yang balance, formal balance and also informal balance. Nah, kalau symmetrical balance meaning that it's really symmetrical so that it create balance because it's symmetrical, of course it's balance ya. But then we also have asymmetrical balance, meaning that you create balance without, although you're putting different kind of shape or weight, but then because of the position of the weight and also probably the shape, it creates somehow balance, although it's not apa symmetry ya. Hierarchy, visual hierarchy is the organization of design element into different level of importance ya. Jadi if we see the picture, we see that the light, the point yang tadi yang kita discuss ya, the light points kind of like lead into something that is more important. So we know that in the picture, the roadway, yeah, the road itu less important than the taman, the garden, and the garden is less important than whatever there. We can see because of the different shape, different texture, and they put lights, meaning that they want to showcase the circular architecture there. Ya, itu hierarchy. Proportion and scale, ini juga something that you can discuss ya. Proportion refers to the relative size and scale of various element in design ya. Jadi proporsinya. If we talk about the door here, the proportion of the height, it's probably not as gigantic as the width itself compared to the man standing there. Because one man here probably will be this height, yeah. But then the width, so the proportion is rather wide than height, ya. Kalau dalam komposisi proportion dengan the human object here. The proportion itu you need something to compare at least gitu. Ya, jadi supaya ada bisa karena ini relatif. Relative meaning that you need to compare with something, ya. Dominance, ya ini creating visual dominance, ya. We know that this building create like dominating because the architecture behind it is buried, ya. Seakan tidak ada. It looks like nothing. So it created dominance for this building. Uh, Creating visual dominance stresses a particular area to focus rather than giving every design element the same level of importance. Yeah. Dominance created by contrasting size, positioning, color, shape, or style. Yeah. Okay, so if you see probably here, there are so many openings, and then suddenly you make this like a solid window and put it like this, in a big cantilever, yeah, creating dominance, of course, yeah. Contrast, is a visual principle that is distinguish different object, ya. Jadi dia terlihat different. If you see that their surroundings are trees and greeneries, suddenly you have one solid wall, yeah. If it's just like a normal house, probably it won't be creating as contrast compared to this one. Yeah. But this is because it's wide, it's bulky, it's big. Suddenly it creates like this is the contrast compared to the surrounding. So the differences in sizes, texture, color, position, shapes, orientation, yeah, create contrast. Yeah. Okay. Rhythm. Rhythm is the repetition of visual movement, yeah. Color, shape, lines, value. Yang apa namanya? Dia ada different ya. If you see this, ada yang longer ya. This is shorter. Ada yang dijeda gap, one gap apa window and then another one. So it is not always steady. Itu namanya rhythm ya. Kalau repetition, if rhythm meaning that we are combining different beats like what you have discussed, yeah, creating a good rhythm. But then if it's just one beat, it is called repetition. If you see this, yeah, it means that you can see that the dot here really repeating vertically and horizontally, yeah, and creating interesting pattern, but then it's different sense compared to this one. This one is more dynamics, more sense of movement, more sense of apa ya? Istilahnya irregularity gitu ya. Kalau ini kan very regular ya. Both are quite interesting, but then it really depends on what context or what building that you're housing and probably what concept you have for the architecture. I think that's all for discussion for now. I know that this I hope this add something ya to the discussion of the building that you have chosen, gitu. I believe that every building in ITB here, they have, this kind of element, the contrast, the hierarchy, probably the color. For instance, like tadi ya, laptek biru, the blue laptek itu using exactly blue color for the whole building, which is quite interesting. But probably you can discuss why. Why should it be blue? Why should it be for the whole team? Why can't they be like two colors for variation? Why? Apa yang kira-kira? What to achieve actually using that kind of concept? So I really hope that you can go that far, yeah, in discussing it. Not just like, oh, this is blue and then that's it. But then why is it blue? Um, Probably you can have imagination. If I change it into green, what kind of stance that will be different for the audience or for the users there, something like that. Yeah. So I really hope that you have good and deep analysis. And next week we will have presentation probably untuk berapa ini ya, Fanny, 10 menit ya satu. 10 minutes per group. But then if you think that you need more explanation to be given, I mean, like to try to show me that we've had way deeper discussion, then you can submit two slides. Yeah. One slide is the presentation one, which is like probably you can chop it into to fit into like 10-minute presentation. But then the other one is the complete one. If you have longer analysis, deeper discussion with your friends, just put it there so that I know that I can give you mark based on the discussion, on only just the presentation. Something like that, probably. Yeah. Okay, any question? Nothing difficult, right? Actually, we know everything that is in this slide, but then our apa ya, sharpness in seeing, oh, this is the dots, this is the lines, oh, this is the dominance, this is the contrast. That is something that you need to train. I cannot teach it here. So probably you can start if you go to the cafe or to any other places. Yeah, pay attention to this kind of uh apa namanya visual ini ya tadi ya vocabularies. Okay, any question? No, clear? Okay, next week belum libur kan ya? Belum ya, masih ada 1 minggu lagi before we have holiday. Okay, so if no question, probably I will have to end this a bit early. Then you can use the remaining time if you still want to discuss with your friends about the ini. Do you have any group already? Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All good. Yeah. Okay. You can use the time to discuss, and next week we will. Tolong nanti siapa yang ini langsung ini set up komputer. Maksud saya nggak perlu nunggu saya gitu, jadi bisa. So we have enough time to discuss and to ini. And probably for the discussion next week, I want you to also prepare to give question to the presenter because I also give additional points to the groups that actively asking or responding to the presenter. Yeah. Okay. Okay, thank you Kak Evan. Ada yang mau ditambahkan? Nggak ada? Nggak ada. Oke, thank you so much. Kalau gitu saya tutup. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.